The girl in 3B. I didn't mean to fall in love with my neighbor. That's the part that keeps sticking in my throat whenever I try to explain this to myself. I wasn't looking for anyone. I wasn't lonely enough to romanticize silence. I definitely wasn't the type to be drawn to someone who looked like they could curse my bloodline if I parked wrong. But here we are. I moved into this apartment complex about 8 months ago. Cheap rent, thin walls, the kind of place where everyone pretends not to notice everyone else. Apartment 3B was next to mine. The door was black, not painted over old white like the rest. Black, matte, intentional. I noticed it the first day because it felt watched. Stupid, I know. I didn't meet her right away. I heard her first. Heavy boots on concrete stairs. Slow, deliberate. Always at night. Then one evening I opened my door at the same time she opened hers. She was tall, voluptuous in a way you don't see often. Soft curves but solid presence, like gravity worked harder around her. Black hair down to her waist, pale skin that almost glowed under the flickering hallway light. Heavy eyeliner, dark lipstick, silver rings on almost every finger. She wore a long coat even though it was August. She looked at me like she was deciding whether I was edible. No smile, no nod. Just a flat, assessing stare that lasted a second too long. I mumbled something like sorry even though I hadn't done anything, and she walked past me without a word. Her perfume lingered. Something smoky, almost metallic. From that moment on, she became a presence in my life without ever actually being in it. She didn't have friends over. No loud music. No TV noise bleeding through the walls. Sometimes I'd hear faint chanting, low, rhythmic, like someone reading poetry to the dark. Once I heard screaming, panicked for a solid minute, then realized it was just metal music, muffled and controlled. Everyone else in the building noticed her too. People whispered. Someone on the second floor called her the witch. Maintenance avoided her door. Packages left at her threshold would sit untouched for hours. I told myself I was curious in a detached way. That was a lie. I started timing my trash runs so I might run into her. I'd listen for the boots. I'd glance at her door when I passed, half expecting it to open. The second time we actually spoke, it was because my power went out. I was standing in the hallway on the phone with the utility company, frustrated and sweaty, when her door opened silently behind me. "You can use my outlet," she said. Her voice was low and steady, not cold, just guarded, like she didn't waste words. I turned around startled. She was closer than I expected. Up close, she smelled like cloven rain. Thanks, I said. She stepped aside, holding the door open just enough. Her apartment was dark, lit only by candles. Shelves lined the walls. Books, bones, real ones. Jars filled with herbs or something worse. A massive black cat watched me like I was already trespassing. I hesitated. She raised an eyebrow. "I won't bite, unless you ask." I laughed, nervously. That surprised her. I saw it, a flicker of something behind her eyes. Inside, her place was immaculate. Not sterile, intentional, heavy curtains, a record player spinning something soft and mournful. I plugged my phone in and stood there awkwardly, hands in pockets. "You don't have to hover," she said. "Sit. Or don't. I'm not good at hosting." "I'm not good at being hosted," I replied. That earned me the smallest smile. Barely there, but real. We talked, not about anything important. Power outages, bad landlords. The cat, whose name was Lucifer and who immediately decided I was acceptable. She told me her name, Raven. Yeah, I know, but it fit. and that she worked nights restoring antique books. I asked her about the chanting once, half joking. She didn't bristle. She didn't laugh either. "It helps me sleep," she said simply. When my phone was charged and my power came back, I thanked her and left. She didn't walk me out. Just watched from the doorway, arms crossed, unreadable. That should have been the end of it. Instead, it was the beginning. Because after that night, she started saying my name when she passed me in the hallway. And every time she did, it felt like something ancient and careful had decided to notice me. After that night, things shifted in a way that was subtle enough to deny and obvious enough to feel. Raven didn't suddenly become friendly. She didn't knock on my door or invite me over again. But she started existing with me instead of beside me. She'd hold the elevator if she saw me coming. She'd slide one of my misdelivered packages inside her apartment instead of leaving it in the hall. Sometimes I'd find a note on my door. Short, precise. "Your headlights are still on. Storm tonight. Balcony chair will blow over." No signature, no smiley face. I started leaving small things in return. A bag of good coffee beans. A book I overheard her mention liking. I'd leave them at her door like offerings to something old and powerful. One night she knocked. Not loud, just once. I opened the door and she was standing there in a long black dress, hair braided down her back, eyeliner smudged like she'd rubbed her eyes too hard. "I made soup," she said. I blinked. "Is that a threat?" Her mouth twitched. "Only if you hate potatoes." That night she stayed. We ate on opposite ends of my couch, knees not quite touching. The soup was incredible. Warm, grounding, like something made to heal rather than impress. We talked longer this time. Real things. She told me she didn't sleep much. I told her I hated silence, even though I pretended I didn't. At some point, lightning cracked outside and the building shook. I flinched. She noticed. "You okay?" she asked, softer than I'd ever heard her. "Yeah," I lied. She stood, crossed the room, and without asking, rested her forehead against mine. No kiss, no pressure, just warmth and steady breath. "Breathe," she said quietly. "You're safe." I realized then that the terrifying thing about her wasn't how dark she seemed. It was how controlled she was. From there, things unraveled slowly. She started sitting closer, touching my arm when she laughed, letting her guard slip in pieces. Tiny confessions dropped like breadcrumbs. She hated how people stared at her body before they looked at her face. She'd learned early that being intimidating kept her from being hurt. She cried at documentaries about animals but refused to watch romantic movies. One night I found her on the stairs shaking. No boots, no makeup. Just Raven, arms wrapped around herself, eyes glassy. "Hey," I said carefully. "What's wrong?" She didn't answer, just leaned into me like she'd been holding herself upright by sheer will. I held her. She smelled like soap and old paper. She trembled like she'd forgotten she was allowed to fall apart. "I don't do this," she whispered. "I don't let people see this." "You don't have to," I said. "I want to," she replied, and that terrified her. After that, she changed. Not less goth, not softer on the outside, but open. She laughed louder. She slept over, curled around me like I was an anchor. She kissed me like she was afraid I'd disappear if she didn't. The first time I told her I loved her, she went completely still. I thought I'd ruined everything. Then she pressed her face into my chest and said, voice shaking, "I didn't think anyone would ever love all of me. Not just the dark, not just the curves, not just the mystery, all of it." People still whisper about her. They still cross the hallway to avoid her door. they still think she's something dangerous. They're not wrong. But she's also the softest thing I've ever held. And somehow, impossibly, she chose me. If you're reading this and you're afraid of someone because they're quiet, dark, or intense, sometimes that's not a warning. Sometimes it's a locked door. And sometimes, if you're patient, they open it for you.